So I see it all the time. You get really excited about some new product ideas, you find a new manufacturer to work with, and what do you end up doing? Ordering far too much stock. You have all these different sizes, styles, colours, and the problem with that is it might look great on paper, but it's not going to fill you with joy when it's all in loads of boxes in your spare room. So one of the main reasons that this happens is because a brand doesn't have a budget beforehand. They go gung-ho straight to working with a manufacturer without thinking about how much money they actually want to invest in stock and then working backwards from that. So when a manufacturer says, well, you're going to need to order 100 pieces of each, and you've got all of these different colorways and sizes and styles, you're going to find that that initial order is going to be huge and it's going to blow your entire budget. The thing is, ordering all these different colors and sizes and thinking that that means your customers are going to have more choice and therefore you're going to sell more definitely doesn't work out that way. In fact, if you want to understand a bit more about the psychology of choice and how offering too much means you'll sell less, just Google jam experiment and you'll find some really interesting research that proves that actually the more choice you offer your customers, the less they're likely to buy from you. One of the other reasons that brands end up ordering too much stock is that they go to a manufacturer whose MOQ is far too high for them and they haven't actually checked that first. So what do I mean by MOQ? That stands for minimum order quantity, if you weren't aware of it. And it's one of the most important things that you need to look for when you first approach a manufacturer. Finding a manufacturer whose MOQ suits your size of business at the time. Because you might think going to the manufacturer that's making for all the big brands is going to be a great factory for you. But if they're going to expect you to order 100 pieces of everything, you're going to either feel that you have to order from them because you've gone too far down the line and you're going to blow all your budget, or you're going to have to start all over again with a new manufacturer. So make sure you check what a manufacturer's minimum order quantities are before you start developing and sampling with them. One of the other reasons that brands end up ordering too much stock is that a manufacturer will quite often quote a better price the more pieces you order. So it might feel like you're saving money if you order more stock because you're getting a better price, but actually what it means is you're spending more cash and that then affects your cash flow, leaving less for you to spend on important things to grow your brand like marketing and advertising. The next one is a biggie, and that is misjudging how much demand there is actually going to be for your new products. So if you've got no history of how well that product is going to sell, particularly if you're new and you're just starting out, it's really easy to think if I build it, they'll come without actually testing the market. And I've seen so many brands fail because of this. When you launch any new product, even if you know who your customers are and what they love, it's still a test. You still don't know exactly how they're going to react to that particular product. So the less you can buy, the better when you're first launching something new. So don't go gung-ho buying tons of stock because you're hoping that somehow customers are going to magically appear from nowhere. So we've looked at the common reasons why brands spend too much money on stock. Now let's look at what the consequences are of those actions. So number one, without a doubt, if you've not got the message already, it's that it's going to tie up all your cash tied up in stock, sitting in your spare room, rather than money you can spend on other things to grow your business. Advertising, marketing, getting your product out there in front of the people that are going to buy it. Products don't sell themselves, and unfortunately, you've either got to spend money or your time or a combination of both getting your product in front of people. So if you haven't got any money left because you spent it all on stock, you are going to be spending all of your time trying to sell it. The next issue with buying too much stock is it leaves you with absolutely no room to pivot if you find that the lovely products that you've designed and all the colorways that you thought your customer wanted to buy are not the ones they actually want. It's far better to get a product out there, get feedback on it, and then buy more than go straight in with loads of stock of something that maybe is not quite right. Particularly if you're working with a new manufacturer. There's going to be points where you're learning how each other works. There may be some quality issues that you come up against that hadn't become apparent during the sampling process. And the problem is, if you've bought several hundred pieces of something that doesn't fit properly or doesn't perform well, you basically may as well throw your money down the drain. So don't get stuck with hundreds of pieces before you know whether a product actually works. Then, of course, you've got the storage issues. I've seen so many brands come up against this problem. They don't realise what 2,000 pieces actually looks like when it's sitting in cardboard boxes in their garage and their spare room. That's a hell of a lot of stock. So either you've got to store it or you've got to pay someone else to store it. So seriously consider all those number of units you're going to buy and think about the volume of space that they're actually going to take up when that order arrives. The other consequence of having too much stock is how that's going to actually make you feel, because there's nothing more soul destroying than looking at loads of boxes because you can't sell the product and you've ordered too much. I heard from someone recently who said, Kate, I would absolutely love your help to develop some new products and find some new manufacturers. But my first manufacturer forced me to order £35,000 worth of stock, and now I've got it all sitting here. I don't really like it anymore, and I want to make some new products, but I can't because I just haven't got any money left. And sadly, there's not much you can do when you're sitting on all that stock and you've got no cash, other than just flog your heart out trying to sell it so that you can raise the cash to make more lovely product. So what can you do instead? Rule number one that I tell all of my clients is start with the minimum viable product and the smallest possible order. And that's where making in the UK really comes into its own, because the average minimum order quantity with UK manufacturers is actually a lot smaller than many manufacturers overseas. So you can make something here, test it, see if it works, and then repeat it in more colorways or more sizes, or tweak it as needed. So always start by buying the absolute minimum amount of stock you absolutely have to, so that you can start small and test it. Yes, you may sell out, but the other good thing about making in the UK is that you can order a repeat more quickly because the lead times are shorter, rather than having to wait for the stock to come a long way from overseas. And also, before you order your stock, set yourself a budget and set yourself an absolute maximum number of SKUs. A SKU, if you don't know, is a stock keeping unit. Funny industry acronym, but what you need to know, that is every different colorway, style and size of your product. So one size in one color in one style is one SKU. If you've got 10 styles in 4 different colors and 4 different sizes, that's like 160 different SKUs. And that's far too many, because the more SKUs you have, the more chances are that you're going to be left with unsold stock, because someone's going to want the size or the color or the style that you haven't got, that you've sold out of when you've got the rest of it left over. So put yourself together a plan of what your range is going to contain. Take a long, hard look at the number of units that you plan to order of each one. What is the total at the bottom? And what does that look like in terms of how much you're going to spend? Does it fit within your budget? If not, go back and tweak it. But if you don't start with a budget, I can guarantee you will way overspend, because you can always drop in new colours or extra sizes further down the line when you know the product is going to sell. And don't give me that old flannel that you need 20 different colours to make your website look interesting because you want to look like Lululemon or something. They are massive businesses. If you're a small business, don't try and compete with them. It's a guaranteed way to burn through all your cash and destroy your business. And you can always drop in new colours later on, and that can be a good thing, because then you've got new things to talk about with your customers. So hold some of those colourways back and don't get too excited. You're not missing an opportunity by starting small. You're actually protecting your brand and building a brand for the future. Finally, just remember, a manufacturer is going to respect you a lot more if you don't overorder. In fact, if you go to them ordering far too many units and they know that you're a small business, they actually will know that you're clueless and you don't know what you're doing, and that you probably won't be returning for a second order. Whereas if you go in there looking organised with a clear range plan that is realistic, you're much more likely to end up going back to that manufacturer sooner rather than later, and they will respect you a lot more for it.